Alright, lads, my boys, we have the next week of Grand Servant banners, or banners that you're supposed to be able to get every servant in the game, so you can make anybody your Grand Servant character over here on the JP side of things. Obviously, I'm going to document this, give you guys my thoughts on which banners are worth going for. If you're unaware, maybe you're sitting on the NA side of things, you've been living under a rock, we're going to be getting an update for another way to upgrade your servants. This time it's going to be you bond up your servant, you grail them to level 100, and bada boom bada bing, you can make them your Grand Servant so they can use their bond CE as well as a normal gacha CE, or really just any other CE in the game, free to play, whatever have you, right? It's going to be pretty sick. So they've been bringing back all these characters so that way, you know, if you want to make some random servant your Grand Servant, right? Like you want to use, I don't know, like the caster version of Marie, I guess, for whatever reason, you know, you can make her your Grand Servant. But these also serve as a guaranteed way that, you know, if you're trying to target a specific support type servant or you need a specific DPS, you'll be able to grab them. And Avengers, these are all just really solid banners. I mean, surprise, surprise, there's not going to be a whole lot of negatives for these guys, because even you can see on this first one, with Gorgon being one of the rate up 4-stars, you know, one of our few 4-star Avengers that are summonable in the game, she's really solid now after her buff. I mean, this is just a character that now, if you need somebody to do buster looping for you, they gave her the battery to be able to do so. She has power mod on all the guys that are going to be, well, petrified, I believe, because theirs isn't a stun, but she has power mod on that, so you land that, bada boom, bada bing, you're doing big damage on everyone. Dante's is obviously still a very, very solid quick AoE servant. We definitely have more competition for him now. We're no longer in year 3 where he's kind of like the only good quick AoE servant. We do indeed have other quick AoE servants that are good, but this is just a very, very strong starting banner overall. Like, if you just want to get some guys that are going to be just generally useful in most areas of the game, this is not a bad banner to roll on. I mean, Dante's is rocking the big battery. He's got really solid NP gain. He does only have the 1-turn attack buff. On that turn, he's going to be doing some good damage. Just solid guy overall, just like a good servant overall in general. Just talked about Gorgon. I also did a video a couple of weeks ago when she did get her buff, obviously very solid there. And then if you don't have Salieri NP5, then these banners are going to be a very good way to do that. So just a strong opening banner, but obviously there are better characters to go for. Now, I could talk for days ad nauseum talking about Jalter and why she's so good. All they did was slap a 50% battery on her, but do you know how crazy that is? That effectively makes her the Avenger version of somebody like, say, Berserker Kentoki. Now, Berserker Kentoki is going to be a little bit more useful, because if you need somebody for these single target purposes, him being a Berserker go figure is going to be a little bit better, but I mean, dude, she can still put up some pretty big, crazy numbers. I mean, I've used her on occasion in some of these 90 pluses or 90 plus quests ever since she's gotten that big battery. And when she's able to take somebody out, I mean, she's able to take somebody out. Plus, being able to have those follow-up crits, if that's something that you are planning for, because let's be honest, not everybody's going to be able to just blitz every 90 plus quest. Some people are going to be reliant on using those face cards, and on occasion, with no Oberon or no Koyanskaya of Light on my account, that is something I have to take into account. And so this character is super nice for that. Obviously, bosses are great because she can just run in there and smack them up. I do wish that eventually they would buff her with maybe something like, what's it called? Pierce Invincibility, so she could kind of get around boss defenses. It does feel a little weird that she could be doing all this defense, or all this damage, but get stopped by any form of defense from the boss, like dodge, invul, damage cut, you know, defensive buffs. Like, even if they didn't want to give her Pierce Invul on any part of her kit, like they didn't want to upgrade one of her skills or her NP, maybe the ability like Jalter got, where she can remove enemy defensive buffs, would be really nice. Obviously, it's not going to beat every boss in the game, because there are a lot of bosses that have unremovable defensive buffs, but it would still be nice. But I mean, overall, Jalter's just in a solid position. Like, just a solid character overall. Again, there are flaws, because, you know, if a boss is throwing up an invincibility, she kind of has to just sit there and twiddle her thumbs for the turn, but is just very, very strong. You know, that's probably going to be good for a lot of people to hear, because Jalter is immensely popular. I mean, she's the reason I got into the game. So if you are wanting to summon for this character, you can do so in good faith, and she will put in the work for you. Lobo's in a decent spot, I would say, after getting the manpower mod buff a couple of years ago over here on JP, but you know, he's just a solid guy. Nothing I would say that's too crazy. We did do the video on him about like a couple months ago, talking about what buffs I would like to see them get for this guy if they wanted to make him a bit better, but it's just very solid overall. If you are lacking in the single target Avenger department and you don't get Jalter on this banner, it's a decent consolation prize. Again, Salieri's still on the banner. I'm be expecting to see this guy a lot. He's going to be on every single one of these banners. All right. I've also told this story before, that ever since Mao Nobu came out, I have been this character's greatest defender, because when they dropped, people thought she was dookie dog water. They were like, this character sucks big penis. And I never really got it. People were like, well, I mean, Jalter does more damage than her. And I'm like, dude, she's an AoE servant. They have two completely different roles. One is wave clearing, one is boss killing. Two different roles. But now that they have given Mao Nobu all of these buffs, you know, she's got the battery, she's got the power mod, she could turn on the burning battlefield and all this other nonsense. Everyone wants to come out of the woodworks and be like, oh no, I thought this character was great the whole time. No, you didn't. I have the comments from years ago when you guys were like, nah, this character sucks. This character's always been fine, and this character is a lot better now. I mean, with the advent of all these sky attribute bosses in 90++ nodes, I feel like people are starting to now get an appreciation for this character. I mean, every time I do some of those event guides, people are like, well, I'm just going to bring my NP5 Mao Nobu and just dookie all over this character, because the good thing about her is that she has the sky power mod, but she also really goes in on divinity people, and newsflash, most sky attribute people are going to be divine because of how the traits work out, right? So it's going to be really good for her, right? She just really thrives in those environments. And then you also have the ability to stack the big attack buff she has on her first skill. So by the time you're getting onto the third and final wave, you have like the 70% buff plus like the 50%. And then she's just doing a whole lot of damage. Like, she's just hitting really hard. And then if you need to, God forbid, do some crits after the NP, because maybe you only have an NP1 or NP2 Mao Nobu. Maybe she doesn't actually take out the enemy. Her follow-up crits are going to do a whole bunch of damage. Now, the nice thing about her is that her consolation prize in Summer Eras is ridiculous. I mean, you guys on the global side now having had this character for a good couple of months, know how strong this character is. You guys know what we were going on about when we got her on JP, when her original summer event came around. I mean, this was like the hidden 5-star character of that event, because you had new Merlin come out, you had Ibuki, who was like the best AoE art servant in the game, and then you had Ruler Scotty coming in and fixing everything for quick. But then Ibuki's banner was so crazy because you not only got the best arts AoE servant in the game, but you got arguably the best single target art servant in the game. I mean, power mod just against servants, go figure, is going to be good. Like, is it good basically having Gilgamesh's weak to Enema Elish, but it's every servant regardless of whatever their lore is going to be? It's just like, nah, I'm just taking out all servants. I mean, it's functionally a better version of that power mod. It doesn't do as much damage. I think hers is like 50% power mod, whereas Gil's is a normal 150, but still, you can use it against anybody. That's ridiculous, right? So this is one of those banners that if you're a fan of Mao Nobu, not only is she really good, she's really strong in a solid position, but you could also just, I don't know, get one of the best single target units in the game. And while we might have other single target art servants that have definitely taken her out of contention for best single target arts character in the game, you know, with Yasugi Kenshin, Draco, or a little character called Castoria Berserker coming in, that definitely does knock her out of that contention, but she's still good, right? If you don't have those guys, then she might as well be the best one for you, because she's going to be the best one you got. So this banner, I think, is really strong. I would even consider summoning on it, but as you guys can see, I'm saving up a little bit of Sankorts over here waiting for Assassins, which, if you're like me and you're waiting for the Koyan Light banner to come back around, we have Riders and Casters coming up next. So if you're looking for people like Reigns, Castoria, Merlins, your Scotties, that's going to be the next couple of weeks. But then after that, we should be moving into Assassins. So it's going to be a solid couple of weeks for that, which, good, keep her back so I can get as much Sankorts as possible for that Koyan Light banner. All right, this is an interesting banner, right? Because Space Ishtar, I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, bro is terrible, bro's not that good. But she has fallen off a little bit, right? It's no longer, year 2 where, Space Ishtar is like the best option for all types of looping. But it's not like she's unusable. Like right now, I think she's in a solid position if you want to use her as a buster looper because she's stacking that NP damage, which makes her really good with Oberon. Obviously, having the 50% battery and the ability to change to whatever meta you need is always going to be good. She does have issues trying to be a quick looper. That has always been an issue with Space Ishtar. Not impossible. It is something you can do if you needed it, but it is something that she struggles with a lot. Arts is obviously still pretty solid, although really reliant on getting that arts buff on the 3rd skill. You do really need that to proc, but not a bad character at all. I say all that because Summer Chloe is on this banner, and Summer Chloe, I mean, this is just like the Dr. Frankenstein of the game. It's like you can get as much out of this game as you're willing to put in with this character, right? If you're willing to, just take 2 seconds to think of the little team comms, I mean, you can make some ridiculous stuff happen. Everybody knows about the, ability to make Arash do 3-turn buster looping, right? Which is really good, right? Because Arash is like, oh, well, yeah, this guy does big damage, but then he's got to sacrifice himself, and it's big sad. But when you bring in Summer Chloe and she could toss that guy a guts, I mean, you could just use him on all 3 waves, and then Arash is doing huge damage, and it's kind of a problem. It's also a little bit of a meme. It's not like the most real thing you can be doing with him, but she is one of those characters that's kind of like a Lady Crane, but better, because for one, her team cost is lower because she's a 4-star, so she's way easier to fit into your teams, but you will get what you put into this character, right? Like if you're willing to put in the work or just a little bit of time to learn how to use this character, you can get a lot out of them. I mean, you'll get more damage out of your team comps. I mean, the Arash thing should already show you can do some ridiculous things with them, because just having a support that can order change themselves or swap themselves out, plug suit themselves out, whatever you want to say, you can do some really nasty things with this character. Again, it's just a matter of if that's something you're willing to do, because I do know even when Miss Crane came out, there was some nasty stuff you could do with her. Her team cost is a little bit more of a problem because she's a 5-star, but a lot of comments that I would get around her releasing was, this is like too much for me to learn. I'm just going to simply, double support, call it a day. I don't want to learn all this, which is completely valid. Some people want to come into FGO. They don't want to do all these crazy things. They don't want to click too many buttons. They're just trying to get in, get out, go home, and go back to doing whatever it is they were doing. But if you pull this character, I think it behooves you to learn how to do their setups and all that stuff, right? To kind of see what you can do with them, because it can get real nasty real quick, which is why I think this banner in particular is really solid, because you get one of the best, I would still say, generalist characters in the game, because, again, not going to be the best in any one meta. They're not going to be the best arts farmer, not the best quick, and not the best buster, but they can do all 3 of them. That's where they shine. They can really fill any niches that you're missing in your account, and then you get someone that can also help facilitate that with Summer Chloe over here. And then, once again, still the boy Salieri. All right, now Tyra's in an interesting position. This banner, I'm a little disappointed with the Summer Jufu. It's not like they're bad or anything. They're not the Summer Eras, right? Like, we got Summer Eras 2 years before her. Probably a bad precedent to set with how crazy she was. Jufu's not bad. She's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's just she ain't Summer Eris, right? But the trade-off is that you're going to be summoning on Tyra's banner over here. And I would say, well, the other one is just way better, bar none. You just go on that one. But then they gave Tyra a buff. And the main thing that Tyra's buff did for her, in my opinion, is that it took her flooring and they raised it, because Tyra used to be a character, or like she is right now on the NA side of things, where her base starting damage isn't the highest, right? You do want to build her up a little bit before you could start getting to those insane heights, or you got to rely more on her insane crits to kind of get through the bosses, which is fine. But in today's meta, where characters are starting to hit harder and harder, their flooring is getting higher and higher. It's a character that was starting to get left behind a little bit, but then they gave her just a little buff, which just allows her to start off way higher. It makes her more competitive with a lot of these other single target units, especially in the single target quick department. And then, God forbid, you start building up her quick buffs, or you start getting those gut stacks, those revenge death buffs on the second skill, she's going to be hitting really, really hard. It makes her a ridiculous character. I mean, again, she's kind of still in that the mindset for me of like quick version of Jalter, but her kit is a lot better than Jalter's. I mean, like Jalter's got 1 turn of invincibility. This guy's like stacking guts and everything, and then she's getting buffs whenever they proc. I mean, she's just a monster. She's removing buffs. She's just crazy, you know. Eventually they'll come around and they'll give Jalter all the buffs that they give Tyra for sure, but as for right now, I think Tyra is a better single target Avenger unit. You know, I gotta unfortunately put my bias for Jalter to the side, and especially after the buff, this character is nuts. So you're realistically summoning for Tyra over here or Big Ushi. If you get Jufu, it's not the worst thing. It's not like, oh, woe is me, I'm terrible, I can't use this character. It just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth because of how good the Heiress is, right? But that doesn't mean that Jufu is bad. She's just like a pretty solid, like, overall servant. Like, I don't think she's doing anything super well, but I don't think she's doing anything super bad, right? Like, just solid servant overall. Oh my goodness, that's Salieri again. And then we have Summer Kama over here. Now, this is a weird banner because Summer Kama is not bad, and I'm trying to put my bias to the side because I was never the biggest fan of this unit when they came out because of how their skill kit works. You know, it's like, oh, you want to like pop the charm on like a specific node where you want the damage, but then you're losing out on like the NP damage buff as well. It could just get a little bit awkward going into farming nodes. Obviously going into stuff like challenge quests, she was great into those because you could just pop all of her buffs, start ramping up damage. They're already charmed, you just butt blast them immediately. That was super great. But as like an arts farmer, I was never the huge fan of them. They also were a little inconsistent for me at NP1. I'm sure at higher NP levels she was putting in work, and it is Kama, so I'm sure a lot of people were like NP5ing the servant and not noticing any of those issues, but I think she's solid. Like, I don't think she's a bad character. Like, let's just open up with that. I think she's fine. You know, if you need yourself an arts AoE servant and maybe you missed out on the Summary Buki banner, you're not planning on summoning on that because that's going to be coming out in what, like 2-3 months from now. I mean, it's still going to be a fat minute before we get Berserkers. I mean, we're getting Riders and Assassins next, or Casters, my bad. And so if you want to use her as your Arts Looper, it's not the worst thing. You also do get Gorgon on this banner, so if you're also looking for just a Buster AoE servant, this can be kind of like your looping banner, you know, where you're like, okay, I'm going to walk away with either like a really solid Arts Looper, a solid Buster Looper, or just a good free-to-play Arts Looper, because I'm going to get more copies of Salieri on this banner, right? Like, this is just a solid banner if you're trying to pick up yourself a decent Arts or Buster Looper, right? Like, nothing too much else to say about this one. Nitocris, I like Nitocris. I think she's solid. It's just, I can't in good faith argue for people going to summon for a character that they could pick up for free. And I mean, this isn't guaranteed, but 10th anniversary, I mean, we're for sure gonna be getting another free 5-star, right? I mean, you can't look at some of these other games that are getting their 10th anniversaries. Dokkan just got theirs and they blew it out of the water. They let their characters pick any character in the game, you know, even the new units that just came out like a week before that. So FGO out here cannot be doing a bummy 10th anniversary that doesn't at least let you pick up a story locked or just, you know, character that's on any single banner. I would say bare minimum you should let the characters pick anybody from year 5 and below. I mean, that's a great way to set your celebration apart and show people that you're not trying to make it the bummiest celebration of all time. But we'll also see, because we know that FGO is like super greedy, so we'll see if they do that. But I'm expecting that you should be able to get the story locked and the non-limited character, you know, free 5 stuff for 10th anniversary. Like, I think they bare minimum got to do that. You can't do that in download celebrations and then have your download celebrations be better than your 10th anniversary. So that in mind, again, this is the benefit of global players. They'll be able to see whenever we get the 10th anniversary later this year, you know, with their 2-year clairvoyance, they could see if they actually followed through something like that. Because I would think that someone like Nitocris over here would be really solid to pick up with your free 5-star ticket. Also, Lohai should be on there as well, so that's definitely going to be probably the most picked character for that one, because Lohai is disgusting. I mean, it's like, well, I could pick Waver, or I could pick the character that just has their own farming system, right? Where you just bring double Lohai and kind of crush all the content, right? But it does make Nitocris Alter still a solid pick over here. If you want somebody that just has a big free battery, that's able to give a little bit of support to the party, very solid unit overall. Not the craziest banner, but again, if you like Nitocris Alter, I would say wait to just try to pick her up for free. But if you really must summon, she's not that bad, right? Like, she's fine. She could do the looping okay. Obviously, you should be able to get by if your character has a 100% battery, but again, I also really like the team utility on this one, and the insta-kill is nice whenever it does proc up, whenever you do actually get it on some of those, like, bronze and silver enemies. Okay, this is a character, Ushi-Gozen, that I do see getting a little bit of disrespect. When they came out, people were even asking, can this character even loop? Dude, she can do black rail looping. You gotta understand, new characters come out whenever they're looping characters, they're gonna be black rail looping day one, right? If they can't do black rail looping as a quick or art servant, they're bums. So for this big collaboration event, there was no way they weren't gonna drop her with the ability to do the black rail looping. She could also do ridiculous damage. Like, she can hit really, really hard when the conditions are right, and it's not like the conditions are the worst ever, right? It's not like, oh, you gotta be, it's not a JoJo stand user condition, let's say that, right, where it's only going to be proccing on a Tuesday afternoon when the sun is directly 12 degrees underneath your house and you're sitting in the 5th room but nobody's in your guest room and you didn't drink any juice this morning, right? It's not one of those crazy JoJo's conditions, but she is really solid. There's not a whole lot else that I can say from her outside of that, though, because that kind of just is the main appeal for Ushi-Gozen. You're just going to be hitting really, really hard and just doing a lot of damage. So if you like Samurai Remnant or you're a Raiko fan, this is a good character to pick up because she will just kind of get out there and, I would say, fulfill the vibe she had in Samurai Remnant, or that you would expect a kind of berserk Raiko to have, even though she's an Avenger. She just does a lot of damage. She just hits really hard. But outside of that, I haven't really found other places to really use her. But hey, if you want somebody to hit really hard in their quick AoE, then this is going to be your girl. Marie Alter, this is a character that I've really soured on the more that I used her. Like, she's not bad, but she has not turned out to be as bonkers as I would like them to be. I mean, they really do center around that curse power mod. I think mine even has all of their command codes slotted out with the curse command code thing, so that way, even if I don't have the skill up, I can just kind of click one of the buttons for her command cards and then put the curse on the enemy so she can do the damage. I mean, she's not bad, but she didn't turn out to be as ridiculous as I would have liked her to be, which is a little disappointing, but she's not bad. If I remember correctly, she's also like only story locked or something, so if we do get that 5-star ticket, which is, you know, any story locked or like non-limited character, I believe she would be on that. But again, not bad. If you do like Marie Alter, again, big W for her banner is having Chloe on her banner, because Chloe, again, you can do all the disgusting things, all the team building, all that stuff that we talked about a couple of minutes ago. It's fine, right? It's not like the worst banner to do. It's just, I think your Saint Quartz would be better spent elsewhere, especially when elsewhere has new Dantes on it. What do I even say about this guy? New Dantes is disgusting. It was a mistake. We need to send this guy back to the lab. We need to eject him from the game. He's suspicious. He's too good. He's too powerful. He's ridiculous. I mean, what doesn't this guy do? He does everything. He does huge damage. You can use him in farming comps as like your single target guy. He's got like an easy power mod trigger. I mean, it's just like Bisquion's thing, except it's for burning, right? So which means he also has like synergy with stuff like Honey Lake if you're really down bad. I mean, what do you want me to say about this guy? What do you want me to say? He's good. He's filthy. He's disgusting. He's nuts. He does everything. Like, you bring him to a fight and he just eviscerates the enemy. He doesn't even kill them. He just eviscerates them. He obliterates them from this plane of reality. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, it doesn't matter who was over here on this side of the banner. This could have been 2 Angraminus, okay? And this guy would still be worth summoning for. In fact, if there's 2 Angraminus, it'd be even funnier. But yeah, this guy is filthy. This guy is disgusting. He's gross. He's ridiculous. Definitely probably the best Avenger banner that I would be summoning on. I mean, and that is coming from me, the Jalter shill, right? Like, Jalter got me into this game, and I will always sing her praises, but she might not even be half as good as this guy. This guy is... he is so gross, dude. I don't know what they were doing with this guy. It's like this character in like Yugioh Kenshin. They just came out the lab with these single targets and they were like, yeah, is this good? And it's like, you've done war crimes with these characters. The Geneva Convention needs to hold these characters under review and see if they should be legally allowed to be running around in this game. But Yeah, with that being said, let me know if you're on the JP side of things and which of these banners are going to be summoning on, or if you're a global player, let me know which one of these banners you're going to be looking forward to. Because again, I know there's a lot of people that are kind of looking at the next 2 years and they're like, oh, when does X character get a rate up? When does Y character get a rate up? When I do streams, people will be like, oh, when was the last like Morgan rate up? And it's like, last Morgan rate up was like 2 years ago, little buddy. But now you can look forward to this and be like, oh my goodness, Morgan's finally coming back around, or oh my goodness, Jalter's back, or I can finally have a shot at Koyan Light, which is literally just me. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace, late guys.